recent history, I think this.
No, go ahead. You say it. Go ahead. Just go.
No, I was just going to say. I mean, I sent you the 2016 draft, and you look at all the players in that draft. It's just like, I don't want to keep harping on Ben, but like, let's see, Ben number one. Next couple of picks: Brandon Ingram, great player; Jaylen Brown, great player; Jamal Murray, great player. I mean, the list goes on and on. Domantas Sabonis, great player. And then I think we get to like pick 23. I think we had the 23rd pick. We took Furkan Korkmaz, right?
Still on the team, I think.
Still on the team. Terrible, awful, low IQ. The next player picked Pascal Siakam.
Oh.
And then way late in that draft, I think maybe like the 35th pick, I think was Brogdon, who was the rookie of the year, and a solid point guard, right?
Oh, man.
A solid floor general, a solid, outside threat, decision maker, control pace, all of that stuff. And then you look at some of these other drafts, and I just can't. The only reason I know that one off the head because we were talking about it in preparation of this video.
Yeah.
And I looked at it and I'm just like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And then some of the other drafts, I'm just like, well, I don't even know what to do. I don't even know what to say. So, yeah, there's no player development, but like, who's drafting? Who's making these? Who's pulling the trigger on these choices?
Yeah. Don't
record.
I can hit record because you was going.
I'm not gonna go off. Because now I'm starting to feel the weight and the tiredness of it all.
Okay. All right. That's it.
I can't think straight now because now it's just gonna be pure unbridled rage. I don't want that out. I don't want that out in the universe.
All right. Joining me now, disgruntled Philadelphia fan, and my brother from another, Coach Andre Jennings. Welcome back to the show.
Glad to be back.
I waited a few days. Well, I tried to wait a few days to contact you after the Philly series because I know Philly is dear and dear to your heart. But then you contacted me and just started spewing, just started going. I said, okay, all right, here we go. I got to get him on. So let's talk about the series first, man. Where we ended. You guys lose to Atlanta, who is, you know what? They're not a fluke because Trae Young yesterday gave him a 48-piece wing dinner, as Kendrick Perkins would say, sliding all over the place. Almost a triple-double.
Yeah.
Throwing alley-oops off the glass in the middle of a playoff game. So
just free, just playing free.
Just playing free. So let me get your series recap from a fan perspective. I know how I feel from, a coaching perspective and observer just the basketball, but I just need to hear it from the fan. What was that? What was that like for you, that experience?
Wow. Well, I'll say this. Even going into game 7, but going into the series, I was very zen about the outcome. I mean, I still have scars from 2019, I live with those. I live with that pain every day. And every time I see some sort of like greatest ever NBA highlight clip plays, there's at least 3 or 4 of them that like the 76ers are on like the receiving end of that. So it's just like, man, this is how it's going to be for the rest of my life. I told that to my wife. I'm just like, man, I watched my grandfather go through it. My uncles go through it. Like, this is what it's like being, a fan of Philadelphia sports teams. But as far as the series goes, I thought Atlanta had a chance, but just because of what I said, of just like young kids, mostly a young team, playing free, no pressure, not supposed to be there, and talented, anything can happen. Whereas like, Philadelphia, this is their year. Things have to happen this year, or they got to blow it up again. And the process is a complete failure and this and that. I mean, that's a lot of pressure to shoulder that I don't think players on our roster are built for. I mean, you had another podcast when you were talking to another coach, Coach Rob, about like dogs. I look at the 76er roster top to bottom. There's no dogs. We got max players, or at least they have max contracts, but they're not dogs. Mm-hmm. And they're certainly not playing like free, and they're definitely hearing all the chatter and reading all the headlines, and that'll feed into a player psyche who's like not a dog. And then you got these young kids coming up from Atlanta, like I said, not supposed to be there, but I think had the best record post All-Star break. I think the 76ers had a pretty good record too, but I think Atlanta had like the best or the second best record post All-Star. So
Once
they got
once they fired Lloyd Pierce, and Nick McMillan took over, I think they had the best record.
A former 76er assistant coach, by the way, to add another layer to this. I was pretty zen about it. You watch it game after game and you watch it unfold and you see them blow these what seem to be like unsurmountable leads. And I'm just like, well, this is insane that this is happening on a historic level in the playoffs. But I'm like, yeah, I watched this during the regular season. Year after year after year. I mean, like, different coach, different group of assistant coaches, but they're the same team. Different personnel on the roster, but they play the same way. Their approach to the game is the same way. Their X's and O's seem to be, or non-existent X's and O's seem to be the same. So I was kind of expecting this. And it is tough a pill that is to swallow, because on paper, everyone's like, oh, they have the better team, they have the better team, they have the better team. I'm just like, yes and no. I mean, like, the thing about Atlanta, and they went into this series, not at full strength. They didn't have DeAndre Hunter, Philly boy. They didn't have Cam Reddish. Those two guys, and then like the rest of their guys that they have kind of in the middle, they're all wings. The Herders, the Bogdanovich. Even old, slow, overweight Gallinari. I mean, he's really a wing. He's not a power forward. I mean, most of his career, he was kind of a tweener, right?
Right.
So you're hitting the opposing team with a steady diet of like the same kind of player, same kind of guy that can, like, sort of a Swiss Army knife, that tweener that can put it on the floor a little bit, can shoot it, mid-range, three-point line. So it's almost like hockey shifts. You know what I mean? Like, you're taking out three and then you're replacing them with three of the same kind of player. Whereas, like, we had a great starting five statistically on paper. But once you take out that starting five, or once you, plug in pieces from our bench, we're not that good a team. So it is what it is. They blew huge leads. I watched it throughout this regular season, last regular season. I watched them get swept in the bubble. I mean, they're a flawed team, man. And they just got exploited. They got exploited a bit in the first round against Washington.
To go back to something you said, I started to laugh. I tried to hopefully
it's okay.
I started to laugh, but you started talking about, your life being, the highlight, the highlight of every like, best moments and stuff like that, the Sixers being in there. And I'm looking at, and I wanted to laugh because I'm looking at you and said, welcome to being a Knicks fan when Jordan was playing. Because that's all you saw. Every highlight was Jordan killing the Knicks or Reggie killing the Knicks or somebody killing the Knicks. Everybody come in the Garden and get their best game.
I'll take it a step further, because you have to remember, like, I'm a few years older than you. I was there, for a lot of the Sixers Celtics battles in the 80s. So this is not new for me. I was seeing it as a little kid. I mean, I was at the Philadelphia Spectrum for a lot of those heartbreak games. I mean, I remember vividly being a little kid and like fights breaking out all around us, because bold Boston fans decided they wanted to come into the Philadelphia Spectrum and, like, start chirping. So, I mean, look at it. I mean, the 76ers were always, what's that saying? Always a bridesmaid, never a bride.
Never a bride.
Like, we always lost to Boston or lost to Milwaukee or series went 7 games and we came up short or whatever. And trust me, over quarantine, I watched all those old games because we had nothing to do. I was missing basketball, missing life.
Right.
And so let me go into these archives and watch some of these games. And it's been a long, long, sad journey.
My thing was, I don't think Ben and Embiid fit, especially with Ben being a 6'10" Eric Snow and refuse. At least Eric Snow would shoot the mid-range shot. Ben Simmons won't even take the attempt. And that's all in his head. And then I recently heard something from Stephen A. talking about how he got a message, true or not. I'm just sharing the
I saw
information
this.
that I heard, saying that, Ben doesn't want to listen. He's only surrounded by family. Anytime you hear only surrounded by family and doesn't want to listen, it means he's used to getting his way. He only wants his way, and that's it. You're never going to grow as a person, as a competitor. You're never going to grow because you refuse to be uncomfortable. He's so set in his
Right.
ways. Not for nothing. If somebody told me that I could have a 6'10" guy who can guard, who's willing to pass, and facilitate the offense, I'm not going to tell you no. But are you willing to get better? Are you willing to grow? And you could say whatever you want. He's just not. Look at Giannis. We're all screaming at Giannis because he's taking the three, but at the same time, we should be applauding him because at least he's taking the three. At least he's taking the jump shot. We don't need him to. We need him to work on that in the regular season and not do it in the playoffs. But at least he's trying. At least he knows. Look, I got to take this just to keep the defense a little bit honest, or to even look my way. When Ben is in, they're not even looking at him. You just a guy like just passing the ball. You become the swing guy. Okay. Then your confidence is so shaken at the free throw line that you spin baseline. You're supposed to just two hands.
Don't get me started. Don't get me started on that.
I want to get you started. That's why I bring it up. So you spin move. That's what I was waiting for. You supposed to throw it with two hands and sit on it, but then he threw it out. I'm like, what are you doing, dog? You're supposed to sit on that, And then Doc knew that, and beat like you saw him beat during the press conference. And beat is like, well, I don't really want to say what happened, but you all saw when somebody didn't try to dunk it, and then we missed the free throw. And that's the turning point. You don't want to say, oh, the game came down to this, but sometimes the game comes down to this. Momentum is everything. So,
I think. Well, let's. You're gonna have to refresh my memory. I think there was probably about 5 minutes on the clock.
Yeah, I think it's like 3 to 4 minutes left. Yeah,
something like that. 4 minutes left. I mean, that's a lifetime, no, in basketball.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And him making that decision in that moment with that much time left, that's almost like waving the white flag. And then at that point, it's 4-on-5, and you can't win a game 7 in the NBA when you're playing 4-on-5. Is that so far gone, lost in the wilderness of their head that they just can't come out? That's like quitting on your team. Like when you're not willing to do everything in your power, whether you're comfortable or uncomfortable, in a game 7, you quit. When you were talking before, it made me think of the Iverson era and that 2001 run, where he said he was being criticized, for his field goal percentage and attempts. Mm-hmm. And he was like, listen, it's simple. Like, I have to take these shots to keep the defense honest. In worst case scenario, I got Mount Mutombo in the paint to gobble it up, which is a high percentage shot. I mean, just taking the shot opens up the offense, and he won't even take the shot. I mean, you said it about Giannis. Like, at least Giannis tries. Yeah, we don't want him taking it in a game 7 in the playoffs or any time in the playoffs, but at least he takes the shot. And I guarantee you he's working on that shot in the off season in the gym hours a day.
Right.
He's just not with the right coach. But like the fact that Ben won't take the shot is just crazy to me because it defies basketball logic. And I think that's the biggest issue I have with not just him, the whole team. I'm going to put this on record. If it's a hot take or not, whatever, I don't know what you want to call it, but I think the 76ers probably have the lowest IQ in the entire NBA. I'm serious. I'm serious. I think top to bottom. I don't think basketball people own the team. I don't think basketball people run the team. I'm not so sure that basketball people scout for the team. And I'm not so sure high IQ people coach the team.
He's been on record telling me he wasn't too fond of the Doc hire. I'm just putting that out there. So
me,
yeah. You've been on record. Yeah.
Day one. I didn't see any difference between him and Brett Brown, other than one was black, one was white, and that's real talk. Like they both should be player development, good at like communicating and relating to the players, but as far as like X's and O's, no. But it all begins with, to kind of bring it back. So you drafted a 6'10" guy
Mhm.
who couldn't shoot. And I guess brighter minds than ours said, oh, we can work on that. We can develop that. But you drafted a 6'10" guy who couldn't shoot, who wasn't a floor general probably at any stage of his high school, college, amateur, whatever, competitive career. And you're like, let's make him a point guard. And that's not something, I don't think you can teach being a point guard. Either you are
or you aren't.
Right. Either you look at things as if this is checkers, or you look at things as if it's chess. And that's the difference between being like a guy who can pass the ball really well, who can, is big enough to look over double teams and spot the open man, versus like running an offense, picking apart a defense, being able to even like decipher the other team's offensive plays, like say like a Chris Paul or a Rondo. I mean, that's a point guard. That's a floor general. Someone who like is obsessed with like studying the game and understanding like the mechanics and the ins and outs of like playing with the ball, playing off the ball. How do you defend certain things, counter moves, counter moves, and this and that. It's beyond like he passes really well and he can see over double teams. So,
right.
I mean, if that's the cornerstone, or you earmark that as like the cornerstone of like, success for your team moving forward, that's a problem. And then if you got a head coach in Brett Brown, who, and we're not going to turn this into bashing Brett Brown, but if you're going to like hand the keys over to a team or to a coach that's has no coaching experience on the NBA level, head coaching experience, that's a problem. And I understand they hired him through the process because no self-respecting coach would take that job in the first place. We're going to tank, but we'll pay you to be the head coach, and you can put that on your resume, sure. But it got to a certain point where he needed to be replaced, right?
Right.
But then you replace him with the guy who's a great guy, great community guy, very outspoken, advocates for players, but like he not only has he not won, I mean, he's won a title, but there's an asterisk next to that title. I mean, you had a KG, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who had never won anything. It was just like, I gotta get to the big show, right?
All right.
You had Pierce, who had never won anything, like, yo, I gotta get to the big show. Ray Allen, like, I gotta get to the big show. All these guys who were just willing to put like ego and everything aside to get this title. And then you have like a basketball savant as your rookie point guard, I mean, who was just like a wild card. And then you sprinkle a lot of veterans around them. I mean, that's a perfect storm to win a championship, right?
Right.
But then you go back and see them take on the Lakers again, right? And again, this is me watching a whole lot of basketball during quarantine because there was no real basketball to watch.
Right.
You watch the X's and O's and the substitutions and the rotations, even in that series, and you're just like, what are you doing, Doc Rivers? Like, are you kidding me? And then you got on the other side of the ball, a Hall of Fame player and like Kobe. Like, I think Kobe probably shot like 5 for 20 or something like that. And he decided, I'm going to be Dennis Rodman in the last 7 games or last 7 minutes of the game. And I'm going to make sure Pau Gasol and everyone else shines. Like, we got to get this chip one way or the other.
Right.
And then you look at Doc's resume, I'm like, he's a loser on top of that one ring. His career is defined by like not making in-game adjustments. Trust me.
And blowing leads.
And blowing
not
leads.
Getting and blowing leads and just collapsing and then making
just
the face.
Collapsing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's glaring. Like, you can't just ignore that or just, decide, well, this is just a fluke. It's not a fluke if it happens like 15 times over the course of someone's career.
He leaves it up to his guys to make decisions, which is great, but sometimes you gotta keep the guys out of their own way and kind of lead them and tell them what they need to do. But I think Doc relies on his player, coach-player relationship a little bit too much, and it's just gets caught out there. So when things start crumbling, there's nothing to lean on.
Right.
There's no, when you go on a timeout on huddle, you're like, all right, do this, do A, B, C to get us going again, and then we can go back to our thing. I feel like Doc never really had that. He kind of, he has certain stuff, but he just leaves it out there. Hence why when you have 3 Hall of Famers and Rondo Remember, him and Rondo used to get into it every day in practice, or every other day they were arguing. Or maybe when Doc drew up something, Rondo came out the huddle and said, "Okay, no, Kevin, go over here," and
And that's probably how it went down.
it probably went
He's a
like,
savant.
and Doc was probably like, "Oh, okay, well, that's fine with me." It worked. So, but yeah, I think just him not being able to make adjustments and the fit of the two of them. Picture this: what if Ben Simmons just watches the championship run of the Warriors and watch Draymond Green?
Well,
Would you accept that? Would you
listen,
accept that?
I said a year ago, because Golden State did not want that number one pick. They had the number one pick, right? Or
Yeah.
top 3 pick. They didn't want that pick. They were trying to trade that pick and they couldn't get the offer they wanted. And I'm like, man, that's the time when we should have traded Ben. And I said it then. I said he would have worked out perfectly. Like even with Draymond, if you have a healthy Steph, a healthy Clay, you got, I guess you'll still have Wiggins, but if you go small and you play those 3 with Draymond and Ben, just like orchestrating and distributing and setting screens and pushing the ball, and 2 guys that don't want to shoot, and then you have 2 guys that are just like lights out shooters, arguably the best shooters all time.
Right.
That would have worked out great. And then would have had a number 1 pick. But then again, we're the 76ers. I mean, we would have found a way to ruin that opportunity. So there's that.
Oh man! So what?
Managing goals and expectations.
Managing goals, yes. Managing goals
really
and expectations. So I think Ben should just go back and watch Draymond in general. Like okay, fine. You don't want to shoot the ball. Okay, so be that guy that's on the high post, swinging the ball. Okay, don't try to force feed everything. Okay, play without the ball in your hands. Let Seth Curry have some touches with the rock and let him facilitate and bring it up. Okay, I mean, it's a possibility, just throwing things out there. The other issue is that you have way too much money tied up in Ben for him to be Draymond Green.
140 million still owed to him over the next 4 years.
Yeah.
Something like that. He's still owed 140 million, something. A lot of money. I think his salary averages between like $30 and $35 million a year.
Yeah, and that's star money. That's star money, and you wouldn't give Draymond Green star money. If you're gonna keep Ben, I don't know what's on the market, but you gotta find another bona fide, flat out bucket. I know Buddy Hield is available from Sacramento, even though I want him to come to the Knicks, but that's another conversation. We're just talking about Philly right now.
That's the next video. That's the
next video. But somebody like Buddy Hield is available, who's just a straight bucket, right? Who you can hide on defense. So imagine.
Well, that's where all the talk was in the offseason when they were trying to move. I think after they moved Horford, I think they were trying to move Harris.
Yeah, Tobias.
And that was the name that kept coming up, Buddy Hield, but that didn't happen. So
that didn't happen. So that's one thing I'm looking at, or Ben just got to go in the lab and just shoot the damn ball.
I think he's untradeable. I think his stock is like, I mean, it's in the dirt. Like I don't think there's any market for him right now. So I think he's untradeable, and as you say, he has to go in the lab. Like there should be no offseason for Ben Simmons right now. Like Embiid should be getting his knee repaired. Ben should be in the lab with like the best shooting coaches available. Not his brother, not his family. Like he shouldn't even leave Philadelphia. Like don't, players go off on vacations or go back to their, their home city. It's just like, nope, you need to be in the practice facility, which is in Camden, New Jersey, right across the river. You can see it from, the Schuylkill Expressway. That's where you need to be. That's where you need to sleep. That's where you need to get all your meals. I mean, you got to be like Kobe, like, 3 a days, 4 a days. You got to get up at 4, get a session in. Go take a nap, go eat, get a session in. Go have lunch, take a nap, get a session in. Go have dinner, take a nap, get a session in. That's what it needs to be until late October, early November, whenever the NBA season starts. But like with good shooting coaches, like bring in outside help. Like this is the time when, the franchise really needs to like outsource and get help.
They need to call lethal shooter.
Yes, they do.
They
Yes,
need to
they
call
do.
lethal shooter. Just
Absolutely.
call him, C. Breekley, somebody. My
Everybody.
my money's on lethal shooter. Get him in here because I'm sure lethal shooter has been sitting there watching the games, got 5 or 6 things he wants to tell that kid so bad, but just
But we
can't.
all do, coach.
We
We all do. Like you sit there, like he's regressed, like he can't even finish around the rim.
yeah.
Like I look at him around the rim and I'm just like, ooh, what is his wrist doing right now? Like, what is that? That seems like
Yeah.
an unnatural motion. It's just yeah.
It's like in my head motion. I'm in my head. In my head. He's so far in his head. And you know what? When I look at him, he looks like he's always thinking about something. Like he's just trying to be Mr. Cool, but he's always just, I don't know. He's always thinking about something. Maybe he misses Kendall. I don't know.
Oh, yikes.
Maybe he's
Wow.
missing Kendall. I don't know. He was playing all right when Kendall was there. Then she left and went to Devin, and then we saw the regression. Let's think about it now.
And Devin put up a 40-point triple-double.
And now
in
Devin's
his
putting up
Western
40
Conference
points
premiere.
with a broken nose. Western Conference
With
premier.
a
Rage killer.
broken nose.
With a broken nose. Okay.
No
so
CP3.
no CP3. So
No
you know what?
problem.
Let's consider all these factors. Growing up, I would never consider outside, issues for players. But you know what, man? Being a coach and somebody who used to, scout the other team and whatnot, I'd be like, oh, okay. Why is he playing like that? His girlfriend just broke up with him. Go at him. He's not here today. It happens, man. Players are human beings too. So, outside stuff affects them. So who knows? Or maybe he spends too much time on Call of Duty. I mean, we're in the generation now where a lot of these NBA players, which is great, they have social interactions on Twitch and they're playing Call of Duty and Fortnite and things like that. But I would say a good portion of them don't spend enough time working on their game. And it shows. So maybe instead of playing Call of Duty for 5 hours every day, 6 hours a day, maybe only 2 or 3 hours and go shoot. That stuff matters. Like the time you put in to what you do matters. If you want to be great at something, you have to put the time in. So he is naturally gifted and he has great instincts in some cases, but his IQ is low at times and he doesn't shoot the ball because he doesn't have confidence, which means stop playing Call of Duty. Stop playing Fortnite.
Well, that natural ability, those natural gifts can only get you so far, right? I mean, you say it all the time. Like when you're out there, like it's the great equalizer. You cannot hide.
Can't hide.
Your basic or your God-given skill set, natural abilities, big guy, strong, athletic. I mean, those are things that most players would, trade a kidney for if they could have it.
Right.
But it can only get you so far. In the NBA on a professional level, it can only get you so far. And here he is, 24 years old, and completely like he's naked out there. He's completely exposed. He's completely exposed. You should have another 10, 12 years to your career, right? But you got to do the work, or else
got to do the work.
Maybe you got to do the work because you're completely exposed. So yeah, he's got to get in the gym. He's got to do some work. Yeah, call lethal shooter. If there's a equivalent for coaching, hire that guy or woman too to help out Doc and his squad, his team. I mean, for me, yes, Ben has to do all those things, but we need a floor general.
Yeah,
we need a point guard, and I don't know who that is. I mean, there aren't many point guards out there, but
there aren't. Unfortunately.
I don't know, but that's what we need. That's what we need. I mean,
and you haven't had one in a long time.
No, you know what the last point guard was that we had?
Andre Miller. Eric Snow.
No.
Uh-huh.
The point guard responsible for kind of jump starting the process.
Uh-huh.
Mr. Number 11, Mr. Jrue Holiday.
Oh, that's right. Wait a minute.
We tore apart that team to start the quote unquote process.
Wow, that's right. Jrue was an all-star.
Jrue was drafted as a defense first point guard, And as much as I can't stand Doug Collins, he made Drew Holiday a bona fide NBA assist leading that season or whatever, all-star point guard.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. So I knew Drew was an all-star.
We had Drew. We drafted Drew. We had him for 7 years, and then we decided to tear it apart.
Man.
We had, what was our team? Our team was Drew Holiday, young Thaddeus Young.
Yeah.
Lou Williams.
Lou Will.
We still had Iggy.
Y'all was all right, man. Hold on, you naming some people. Yes.
We drafted Evan Turner. He was on that team. He was on that team. Yeah, it trails off after that. I think we had a young Maurice Speaks on that team. Spencer Hawes. But yeah, we had Iggy, we had Drew, we had, Sweet Lou. I mean, we had pieces, and we're just like,
couldn't pull it together.
Actually, I think right before they pulled the trigger on and decided to like tear that team apart, I think that's the year we faced the Bulls in the playoffs. And I think that's when D Rose
had his run.
His run, but or he had his unfortunate break. I think that was against, who was that, against Philly? I think that was against Philly.
I don't know.
That's something to look at.
Let me ask my producers and researchers. Look that up for me. I'm gonna look it up right now.
Yeah, but we had some pieces, man.
Yeah.
But we had Drew.
Wow. So that's still a long time without a official floor general.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, because we got rid of Drew, and then we drafted MCW.
Oh, that was a disaster. They dubbed him the triple-double king. He was supposed to be the next coming. I saw, look at that. During game 1 of the first round of the playoffs against the Philadelphia 76ers, Rose injured his left knee while trying to jump. He was immediately helped off the court. The injury occurred when the Bulls were leading by 12 points with 1:22 left. So it was the 76ers.
Yep.
It was the 76ers because everybody was screaming. I remember everybody was screaming for Thibodeau to take him out the game. Like, why is he still in the game?
Yeah.
Leading by 12 with 1:22 left to play. Yep. Yeah. Wow. And that was the one.
Yeah, my memory's a little foggy, but I remember some things. You end up blocking out a lot. You're a 76er fan.
Start portioning stuff off. Put it right here. Put it right here, man.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, all right. So who look, Tobias Harris is rated higher than Ben Simmons in 2K. When I seen that, I knew you guys were in trouble because he got an A in everything, and it says a D minus or something on his shoot. That's bad. That's bad, man. That's rough. But who do you want? Who do you think you could get? What do you think you could get for Ben Simmons?
Maybe
it don't have to be logical either. You could wish a little bit here. It's safe.
Well, now I'm hearing Ben Simmons and CJ McCollum swap. I'm hearing that a lot. That's getting a lot of burn now.
But that doesn't help. That doesn't help Portland.
No, God no. And from what I understand, they don't want him, or the players don't want him.
Yeah, which says what?
Yeah,
that says a lot.
Listen to the players. The players know. They know each other's MO better than any scout, any coach, anything. Because we're in a generation where these guys like hang out together, but they also like grew up together, so they've competed against each other for many years. As far back as like middle school. So you got to trust the players' take on another player. I don't know, man. I just think he's untradeable. I think we're kind of like stuck with him, and we have to like he has to reinvent himself, but he has to be like a willing participant in the process, for lack of a better word. But I also know that, Ben Simmons is really into like buying the latest Ferrari and Call of Duty and his brand. That's the big knock on him. He's big on his brand, and it's just like, well, I can't go that far because I don't watch him that closely and I don't know him personally, but I just know what I see, and we're in a toxic relationship that we have to like go to therapy and figure this thing out together. And I mean
right.
as like Ben Simmons and then like the 76er franchise fan base, whatever. Like we all got to go to therapy and figure out what to do here, because I'm not leaving you, you're not leaving me.
All right, so we got to work this out.
We gotta work this out for the kids.
We've been together too long. We got to work this out for the kids. Okay.
Right.
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say that, and I never want anybody to be fired, because I know coaching is one of the toughest jobs to get into and the easiest job to be removed from, and you'll never see it again. Okay. But somebody seriously has to look at, I know we've talked about it, but somebody seriously has to look at their player development. Okay. Nobody has pulled Ben to the side and be like, I don't care what your family says, you're going to be in here for another hour and take these shots. You're going to be in here for another hour and take these shots. Okay. I've never really seen true development with any one of their players. If you really think about it, with the 76ers, like if they never panned out, then they were gone. I mean, look at Fultz. Fultz came in, a shooter, had a little nerve problem and left, and everybody thought he was jacked up. And then look at his career afterwards, before he obviously got hurt, but at least it looked like he started to figure it out, Yeah. And then Zaire Smith was a high draft pick. Where is he?
He's out of the league.
He's out of the league. They traded him out of the league. Embiid.
You know who we traded him for, though, right?
Who
we swapped? I believe we swapped. We took him. We drafted Mikal Bridges.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Who a little Nova?
But side note. Just to really key you in on like what it's like to be a Philadelphia fan. Mikal Bridges, Philly guy. Mikal Bridges played at Villanova. Mikal Bridges' mother works for the Philadelphia 76ers. She is an employee of the franchise. We draft him, pretty high pick. I think he got drafted 10th or 12th.
Yeah.
And then we trade the local boy whose mom works for the franchise, who just played 3-4 years under one of the best, if not the best coach in college basketball, won a chip. We wanted a 4-year player. We wanted a mature player who could play that 3 spot, who could defend and shoot from the outside and make good decisions on the court. He's exactly the guy we wanted. And then we trade him for a guy who a few years later we trade and is not even in the league anymore. Mikal Bridges is playing in the Western Conference Finals and contributing, and has contributed from day one, right?
Day one. Yeah, from day one. Yeah.
Are you seeing the pattern of toxicity and abuse? Being in an abusive relationship.
Yeah, man. That's tough. It's like, oh, he checks all the boxes.
Nope.
Let's get him out of here. That's that. What's that mean? Right? Got a good job, got a car, got a house, but he's not 6 foot, King.
Right.
He's not 6 foot.
He's not 6 foot. Don't have tattoos and
don't have tattoos and fellas. Man.
That's what it is. That's what it is.
Oh my goodness gracious.
I can go on and on with this.
I know. Oh man.
The more we talk, the more my memory is jogged, and I'm just like, oh man.
Well, look, got the shot of the local kid Bridges. You give him up. But man, player development has to be priority, right? What's my favorite word? Culture, right?
Oh, that's my favorite word.
That's your favorite word. I think we're going. Yeah, I should.
What's our catchphrase? Anytime we get down on when we're coaching the kids and we feel like we're doing something wrong, there's always like
the Spurs weren't built in a day.
That's right. So Rome wasn't built in a day. The
Spurs were built in a day, right? You know what I'm saying?
Miami Heat weren't built in a day. Like these teams that are like big on culture, like it didn't happen overnight, but you see how important it is.
Definitely see how important it is. So, all right, bro. Listen, we can do this again once more stuff comes up. Obviously, once the playoffs are over and we get some, news about some trades, you'll probably hit me up and say, "I gotta let them know." I gotta let them know.
Definitely.
So I'll definitely, you always welcome on the show. I appreciate you coming on, sharing some Philly fan wisdom, and dropping some stuff on him. Look, he said,
I feel like I have to go to therapy now. Like you just all these memories have just came back to me. It's just like,
opening old wounds.
Old wounds, man.
All right, so instead of therapy, how about you come on once you start remembering more stuff? You're like, oh, I gotta say this. We gotta talk about this. So
definitely, we're happy to.
All right, y'all. That's it. That's a wrap. Shout out Coach Dre coming on once again, live from Philly, in Philly, opening some wounds, but hopefully we can close them up a little bit if they get their act right. Once again, man, like, subscribe. I'm on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your local podcast. I'll be on Google Podcast soon as I get, some funds to take care of that. I got 3 kids, y'all. Takes a little time. But thank y'all, and I appreciate y'all for watching and coming on. And I will holler at y'all later. Peace. Boom.